Okay, so you know how sometimes after a night out, you're like, coffee! I need coffee to sober up.
Yeah.
We've all been there, right?
Totally.
But here's the thing. That whole coffee thing, it's like a total myth.
It is.
Drinking coffee after a few drinks, it doesn't actually speed up how your body deals with alcohol at all.
Nope.
So today, we're ditching the hangover myths and diving deep, deep, deep into the science of how our bodies actually deal with that glass of wine or that pint of beer.
I love it.
We're talking alcohol metabolism. And to help us break it all down, we have an expert on all things, well, alcohol metabolism.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
So when we swallow that drink, most of us probably don't think about what happens next.
Right. It's like this whole hidden world inside us.
Totally.
It's pretty fascinating, actually.
So let's get into it. Alcohol eventually enters our bloodstream.
It does.
But where does it actually go after that?
Well, picture this. You've got this processing plant inside you.
Okay.
It's your liver. And its main job when it comes to alcohol is to process it.
So the liver is like the alcohol processing plant.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And it can process roughly about 1 standard drink every hour.
1 drink per hour.
Yeah, so we're talking about a 12-ounce beer, a 5-ounce glass of wine, or a shot of liquor.
Okay, I'm tracking.
That's the liver's pace.
Got it. 1 drink per hour.
Right.
So say, hypothetically, I have a second glass of wine with dinner. I'm exceeding that limit, right?
You're overloading the processing plant.
And what happens then?
Well, it's like anything else. If you overload it, you're going to have a backlog.
Right.
The extra alcohol just hangs out
Hangs out where?
in your bloodstream and tissues until your liver can catch up.
Okay, so the liver's playing catch up.
Exactly.
And what happens at this, like exceeding the limit? What if that happens a lot?
Well, just like any system that gets pushed too hard too often, there are going to be consequences down the line.
So moderation is key, like we've heard.
Always a good idea.
But let's get even more granular. Zoom in on the science here.
Love it.
How does the body actually break down alcohol once it's in the system? What's going on in there?
It's actually pretty amazing. We have these tiny helpers in our bodies called enzymes.
Okay, I've heard of enzymes.
Specifically ADH and ALDH. They're the ones responsible for dealing with alcohol.
2 different types of enzymes.
Yeah, think of ADH as like the first responder.
Okay.
It breaks down alcohol into something that's less harmful, less toxic.
It's like the first line of defense.
Exactly.
I like that analogy.
And then ALDH, it swoops in to finish the job.
Okay.
It converts that intermediate substance into something your body can easily get rid of.
So it's like a tag team, ADH and then ALDH.
You got it.
Wow. We have this whole internal system for this.
We do.
So we all have these enzymes, the ADH and ALDH, working their magic at like the same rate, right?
Well, not exactly.
Yeah.
That's where things get even more interesting.
How so?
It's not a one-size-fits-all situation when it comes to how fast or slow this process actually happens for each person.
Wait, you're telling me some people process alcohol faster than others?
That's exactly what I'm saying. There are a bunch of factors that can impact how efficiently your body handles that after-work cocktail.
Okay, now I need to know more. What kind of factors?
Well, for example, did you know that women generally process alcohol slower than men?
Really? Why is that? Is it just because, on average, men are typically larger?
That's part of it. Size can play a role,
Okay.
but it's mostly about those enzymes we talked about and body composition.
Okay.
Women typically have lower levels of ADH in their stomachs compared to men.
There it is again, that first line of defense.
Right. So less of that enzyme means a slower breakdown process.
Interesting.
Plus, women's bodies have a higher percentage of body fat and less water on average than men.
And that impacts how the alcohol is.
Distributed, yeah.
So it's not just about size, it's about
Body composition, exactly.
existing.
It's all about the ratio of fat to water in your body.
Okay.
Muscle tissue, it has more water content than fat tissue does.
Yep.
And since alcohol mixes better with water, someone with more muscle mass is going to have a lower blood alcohol concentration than someone with a higher body fat percentage.
Even if they drink the same amount.
Exactly.
Wow. So that's something most people probably don't even realize.
Probably not.
What else? What are some other things that people might be surprised to learn about when it comes to how our bodies handle alcohol?
Well, let's talk about age for a sec.
Okay, you mean like as we get older,
Yeah, exactly.
does it take longer to process alcohol as we age?
It can, yeah.
Is that why sometimes it feels like our tolerance changes as we get older?
As we age, our metabolism naturally slows down, which includes how well our liver can metabolize the alcohol.
Right. It's not just alcohol, it's everything.
Okay. Right. Plus, older adults are often taking medications, and those can sometimes impact how the body handles alcohol.
Interesting.
Yeah, it can get complex.
So we've got gender, we've got body composition, we've got age. What else?
Okay, think about this. Have you ever had a drink on an empty stomach?
Let's just say I know better now.
Right, but think about what happens.
You get drunk way faster.
You do, and there's a reason for that.
Okay, why?
When you have food in your stomach, especially protein and fat, it acts like a buffle.
A buffer.
Yeah, it slows down how quickly the alcohol gets absorbed into your bloodstream.
So it's like putting a roadblock up.
Kind of. It's buying your body more time to do its thing, to metabolize the alcohol.
Or process it.
Yeah, and we're talking a big difference here. Someone drinking on an empty stomach could have a blood alcohol content 3 times higher than someone who ate beforehand.
3 times higher.
Yeah.
Even if they drink the same amount.
Even if they drink the same amount.
That's wild. It is.
Okay, lesson learned. Never skip that pre-drink snack.
It's always a good idea.
Wow. Okay, so much to think about.
Right.
We've got gender, age, what we eat before drinking, what else? Anything else that might surprise people?
How about this one? Your ethnicity in genetics.
Wait, what? Are you saying that my background can impact how my body processes a drink?
It can, yep.
Yes.
Well, for instance, some individuals of Asian descent have a genetic variation that can make them deficient in a particular enzyme.
Okay.
And it's an enzyme that's really important for alcohol metabolism.
Oh.
This can lead to something called alcohol flush reaction. Wait, you mean like that thing where some people get really flushed, like red in the face, after just one drink?
That's the one.
I've always wondered about that.
Yeah, it's pretty common.
So it's not just about the flushing, is it?
No, it can also cause some other not-so-fun symptoms, too.
Like what?
Nausea, headaches, a racing heartbeat, things like that.
Wow.
It's basically their body's way of saying, whoa, hold on, struggling to keep up over here.
So it's less about how much you can handle and more about how your body reacts.
Exactly. It really highlights the importance of paying attention to your own body's signals and not comparing yourself to others.
Everyone's different.
Exactly.
This is so fascinating.
It is.
Okay, so we covered a lot. Sex, age, what we eat, even our genes. Anything else, any other factors that can impact how quickly or slowly we process a drink.
One more big one.
Okay, what's that?
The speed at which you drink.
You mean like downing a beer in one go versus slowly sipping it?
Exactly.
Oh, I know the answer to this one. Sipping is better, right?
You know it. Your body has a much easier time keeping up with the breakdown process if you're not bombarding it with alcohol all at once.
Right, it's like giving your liver a break.
Precisely. The faster you drink, the faster your blood alcohol content is going to climb.
Because the liver can only work so fast.
That's right.
So sipping your drink isn't just polite, it's like the smarter move.
It is.
This is incredible. I had no idea there was so much going on behind the scenes when it comes to drinking.
It's a whole process.
It really is.
But I think understanding how it all works is important because it empowers you to make better choices about alcohol.
Absolutely.
Knowledge is power, as they say.
So true.
Right.
Speaking of which, I'm betting there are a few persistent myths out there that we need to debunk.
Oh, yeah.
When we come back, we'll be tackling those head on, so stay tuned. All right, let's talk about those hangover myths.
Oh, yeah, the ones that just won't die.
Exactly, like that supposed miracle cure. Chugging water after a night out.
Yeah, the hydration myth.
So does drinking tons of water actually help you sober up faster?
You know, it's funny, we hear it all the time, but the truth is, while staying hydrated is super important, especially when you're drinking,
Right? Always.
it's not going to magically speed up your body's alcohol processing time.
Really? So no matter how much water I drink, my liver's still working at its own pace.
Exactly. You can't flush it out any faster than your liver can process it. You know what I mean?
That makes sense, I guess. I always thought.
Water might help with the dehydration part.
Right, which is important.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's not like this magic solution to speed up metabolism.
Nope, not a magic bullet.
Okay, what about the other big one? The coffee myth.
Oh, coffee.
Everyone says coffee sobers you up.
Right, but sadly, caffeine just doesn't work that way.
It doesn't.
It might make you feel more awake,
Right, more alert.
but it's not actually speeding up how your body metabolizes the alcohol.
Oh, interesting.
In fact, it can actually be kind of risky.
How so?
because it masks the effects of the alcohol.
Oh, so you think you're more sober than you actually are,
Exactly.
and you end up making bad decisions.
Right. You could feel less tired, but your reaction time and coordination are still impaired.
That's really interesting. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, it's easy to fall for those quick fix ideas.
Totally.
But our bodies are more complex than that.
Speaking of complex, what about sleep? Surely a good night's rest helps get that alcohol out of our systems faster.
Well, it makes sense, right? Like you wake up and you feel refreshed.
Right,
But
exactly.
even sleep, as restorative as it is, can't magically erase the effects of alcohol.
So you're saying even when I'm sleeping, my body's still working on that alcohol.
Your body's a machine. It never really stops working.
Wow.
While you're sleeping, your body's still metabolizing that alcohol.
Okay.
It might even slow down a bit because your metabolism naturally dips when you're resting.
So it's not like a fast forward button.
Not quite.
Okay, so no matter what tricks we try, we just got to let our bodies process the alcohol at their own pace.
Pretty much, your liver sets the pace. There are no real shortcuts.
And those so-called cures can actually backfire.
Absolutely, because they can mess with our judgment.
Right, like we think we're good to go when we're really not.
Exactly. So the takeaway here is, if you're going to drink, do it responsibly, pace yourself, listen to your body, and accept that it needs time to reset.
Love that. So important.
It is.
Okay, so we've debunked some common myths. Now let's talk about the actual effects of alcohol, both short-term and long-term.
Okay,
I'm talking hangovers, everything.
let's do it.
What are the things people should know about what happens beyond that initial buzz?
Let's start with the dreaded hangover.
Oh yeah, we've all been there.
Right? That pounding headache, the nausea, wanting to hide from the world.
The worst.
The worst.
But what's actually happening in our bodies? Is it just dehydration or is there more to it?
Dehydration's definitely a factor,
Right.
but it's more like it's your body's way of recovering from the toxic effects of alcohol.
Toxic effects. That sounds intense.
Well, alcohol is a toxin, and when it's broken down, remember those byproducts we talked about?
Yeah.
Some of them can stick around, and those contribute to those nasty hangover symptoms.
So it's like our body is saying, hey, maybe we overdid it a bit last night.
Exactly. It's a clear signal to slow down and let your body recover.
So how long does that usually take? When does the hangover usually kick in?
Well, it varies, but for most people, it hits as your blood alcohol content starts to drop back down to 0.
Okay.
And it usually clears up within a day or so.
Okay, so 24 hours of feeling less than stellar.
Pretty much. But if you're someone who's dealing with frequent hangovers,
Right, like multiple times a week?
yeah, it could be a sign of something more serious, maybe even an early warning sign of alcohol use disorder.
That's a good point, and that leads us to the long-term effects of alcohol, which can be a lot more serious than just a hangover.
Exactly. An occasional drink here and there might not pose big risks for most healthy adults.
Right.
But when we're talking chronic, heavy alcohol use,
Okay.
that's where things get serious. It can have really serious consequences for both your physical and mental health.
So we're talking about more than just feeling bad the next day.
Way more. We're talking about a whole range of potential issues.
Like what? Give me the rundown.
We're talking liver damage, increased risk of certain cancers,
Oh, wow.
heart disease, pancreatitis, even neurological conditions.
Wow. Okay. I had no idea it was that far-reaching.
Yeah, and of course there's the risk of developing an alcohol use disorder, which
Yeah.
can impact every single area of a person's life.
It's a good reminder that alcohol, I mean, it's fun, it's social, but it's serious stuff.
It is. It's not just about that initial buzz.
Right. There's so much more to it.
It's a lot going on under the surface.
So as we're wrapping up this deep dive, all this incredible information about how our bodies process alcohol.
Yeah.
What does it all mean? What are the key takeaways? What do we want people to remember when they're, enjoying that next drink? It's funny. We think we know how drinking works.
Yeah.
But when you really break it down, all the science,
It really makes you think.
it makes you realize how much is going on in our bodies that we're just not aware of.
Right, like it's this whole other world happening internally.
Totally. And it's all very individual, right? Like everyone's body handles alcohol a bit differently.
Absolutely. No two people are exactly alike when it comes to how their bodies process alcohol, which is something to keep in mind.
Which makes me think about those moderate drinking guidelines we hear so much about.
The 1 drink for women, 2 for men kind of thing.
Exactly. But after everything we just learned, all the different factors.
Right. Like, how can one guideline be right for everyone?
It's true. It's like we're all playing the same game, but with completely different rule books.
I like that analogy. It highlights how those guidelines, while a decent starting point, can't possibly take into account every individual's unique metabolism.
So really, knowing your own body is key.
Self-awareness is crucial.
So listening to your body, recognizing how you feel, making decisions based on that.
Exactly. Responsible drinking isn't about hitting some arbitrary number of drinks. It's about understanding your own relationship with alcohol and prioritizing your well-being.
Love that. Such a great point to end on, really.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that balance.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to wrap up this deep dive into the science of alcohol and how our bodies deal with it.
I agree. Fascinating stuff.
It really is. Huge thanks to you, expert speaker, for walking us through all of it.
My pleasure. Always happy to talk about this stuff.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us for another episode of The Deep Dive. Until next time, cheers.